7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Welcome into another edition of the Vegas Squares podcast. It's Sunday. We've got divisional playoff slate number 2. We've got the Chargers and Patriots, and we've got Philadelphia and New Orleans setting up to be a wrap-up to what has been a great divisional round so far. We also have Proxy Tony, or Broken Tony, as we called him last podcast, back in studio to make his picks for Token, who hasn't. He's been taking an L the last few podcasts. He hasn't been here for like 4 in a row, I think.
Oh, wow, yeah. Yeah, no, he was here for the wrap-up on last Sunday.
Yeah, okay, so 3 in a row. So he's going 3 in a row. So, nevertheless, we appreciate you listening. We are on 12-ounce sports radio here. It is Sunday morning before the divisional slate begins. And we want to thank our sponsors, 12-ounce sports radio, as well as VGK Pop Sockets, ChaiPoker.com, Eric on the Web Productions, and our newest sponsor, Vegas Puckline Apparel. Catch them at Vegas Puckline on Twitter. And if you ever need any videos or anything done, catch Eric on the Web. I think his Twitter handle is Eric on the Web. So anything from a fan sitting on the couch standpoint, guys, today, that obviously we know Spike's going to be on pins and needles, and he'll have 3 or 4 extra remote controls. But you don't really have a dog in the fight now, Proxy Tony. So what game of the 2 are you more interested in seeing?
This one for me, just I think it'll be a lot closer, is the Chargers game going to New England. I think these two teams are much more evenly matched than the second two, and I actually do think the Chargers are definitely the better team, but that does not necessarily mean they can win the game. But I want to see if they really are going to look like the better team on the field, and I just think it'll be a really fascinating, interesting matchup. I just like a lot of the offensive defensive matchups we're going to see in that game.
Fair enough. And before we get into our picks, I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit of a hot-button NFL issue that's going on, and obviously, even when they're not in the playoffs, the Steelers are still, one of the more popular franchises, and this week it's been said that while Antonio Brown will not be released, all other options are on the table. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not the most smartest guy when it comes to front office stuff, but doesn't that pretty much mean trade or play?
Be it, I think,
right?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And aren't they saying that they would be surprised if Brown is still a Steeler when it kicks off next year?
Yeah.
So that leaves trade.
Yeah, well, yeah, pretty much. I mean, if the person who basically controls all of those things says they'll be shocked if you're in, it's really amazing. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I'm not letting Ben Roethlisberger off the hook here, but, it's really amazing how Antonio Brown, I mean, he got paid, 2 years ago, it seems like? I think he got his big deal. And it took 2 whole years for him to finally kind of become, for lack of a better word, a little unhinged,
Totally agree. Yeah, no, that's the way it seems to me, at least here, that while I'm sure there's a lot of people certainly at fault with the way some of these situations have been handled, but, Antonio hasn't helped himself a lot by making a lot of these things of public record. The fact that he's showing, locker room discussions and things like that, and posting it, on his social media pages, and then airing out all these grievances, here, again, media, full media wide, I think just shows a lack of professionalism and just a lack of care to what you need to be, what you should do to the franchise that owns your contract, essentially. I'm not saying that you need to bend over backwards for anyone specifically, but just be a professional and understand that it's a business, and you're going to have to do sometimes some things that you don't necessarily want to do, and that's just all that goes with the business of this. So to me, it looks like that Antonio is. I mean, it's the easy expendable option too. It's easy to be able to move a receiver where the reality is, unfortunately, that he's clearly not nearly as important on the field as the quarterback is, as Roethlisberger still is, and the fact that they have a great up and coming receiver.
There's a guy on the other side that can do pretty much exactly
there. Yeah, I mean, not even up and coming anymore. I think a lot of people would say he's there. So
okay, fair enough.
To me, this is a pretty easy situation, I think, for Pittsburgh to end up having to handle. Well, how much they can get for him on the trade market is certainly up in the air. But
well, that's kind of the question is even if they do trade him, and again, I don't understand how front office logistics works, but I always assumed trading somebody meant the other team was willing to take on all facets of the cap. But again, the NFL is probably the most difficult cap for me. Second, maybe to the NBA with all their mid-level exceptions and all that shit. But trading him doesn't really let the Steelers off the hook. He still counts for $21 million against the salary cap, even if he's not in uniform for the Pittsburgh Steelers next year. So trading him doesn't necessarily bring back beneficial because, I mean, God forbid, okay, so trading Antonio Brown, most of the time when a player gets traded, it's for picks. But a player of Antonio Brown's caliber might be a pick-player kind of combination. I mean, the number one name that's been on the table recently is Patrick Peterson. So an Antonio Brown for Patrick Peterson, I mean, Patrick Peterson already makes quite a bit of money too. So you figure at this point, just by transitive property, you might be looking at a Patrick Peterson who could cost up to $40 million against your cap next year.
Yeah, I don't know how all these salary cap ramifications work. From what I mean, the Rooneys have always been like really, really, really good about handling not only the cap but handling salary and really never, painting themselves into a corner sort of deal. So again, without knowing all the details, the knowledge of how you can work around all of these things, this is not the franchise that makes just gross and grave mistakes like this. So however it can be done, my faith in the Rooneys to be able to come up with the right answer is probably in the top 3 in the entire NFL of who can navigate a situation like this.
Yeah, and I actually give credit to the Steelers for not really making any rash decisions just yet. We know their track record with with their track record with coaches. They've had 3 since the 60s. Yep. So I get that they're not going to make a rash decision on just Mike Tomlin, even though a lot of people are already calling for him. They haven't made the snap decision on Antonio Brown. Most of that's tied to his cap number because one way or another, whether he's on this roster or he's not, we're talking $21 million here. And they haven't really been ready to cut ties with Ben Roethlisberger, even though many people, despite his stats, have said he is regressing due to, as he gets older.
Yeah, and my 2 big questions about this entire saga are, number one, if they do trade him, what can they get for him? What is he going to be worth to a team? We saw Josh Gordon this year go for a 5th to New England, but he had so many off-the-field issues that obviously skewed the price. Antonio Brown, now, if he has the taint of a bad teammate, does that drop the asking price down to like a third?
This guy's going for no less than a second. I mean, you never know, but I agree with you. Yeah, I mean,
the league is weird. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
The stench is weird. But the other question I have is, how much of this is on Tomlin's shoulders for not controlling this guy?
And agreed. I think he deserves a lot of the blame because the coaches. Well, that's the way it goes. You're supposed to be able to manage the locker room. We talked about that on the podcast yesterday. These guys who are just coming in with only really ties to the quarterback, managing the locker room is, another key to that. Chemistry, as much as people throw around the chemistry word, it's a real thing.
Oh, it matters completely.
Yeah, it's a real thing.
So, Tomlin, if he's seeing that these kinds of problems are going on and that he's not doing anything to quell them and to address them and to get rid of them, then I think that becomes not just a problem where, if the Steelers really want a fresh start, then it's not only jettisoning Brown, but they have to get rid of Tomlin as well. And I know that the Rooneys don't want to do that, and they've been loyal to coaches to a fault and this, that, and the other thing. But I think now that we've seen what goes on in that locker room and that Tomlin doesn't have control, that he's not doing anything to improve this team, and in fact they're getting worse, missing the playoffs this year, that at some point the
losing to bad teams.
Yeah, the front office has to come in and say enough is enough. You can't handle this, and move on from him.
And the thing is can the Pittsburgh Steelers, this organization, especially when we talked about Baker Mayfield up and coming, the Browns may actually have a pulse next year. The Ravens with Lamar Jackson, they made the playoffs this year, so we can't necessarily discredit them. Although if Spike New Year, New You will probably be like, the Ravens are frauds, and I'll have to revamp the playoff bet again. And then we'll see what we have with the Bengals. Yeah, right now they are nothing, but the AFC North is above average, I might say, right now with the Browns becoming a little bit of something.
I can see that.
So can the Steelers really afford right now to go through a rebuild? They've got to keep the most consistent player, and again, not necessarily statistic-wise, that's Ben Roethlisberger.
But the flip side of that is, if you know Roethlisberger's on the downhill, if you know you're going to be starting with a new coach, if you know that if you feel that the only way for this team to get better long-term is to rebuild,
just do it now.
Then I think you do it now while these other teams are good, and then you wait for them to go backwards. That way you can take advantage of it.
Yeah,
take advantage of the power vacuum.
Just take the AFC East model. Exactly. They've been rebuilding for 18 years now.
Waiting for that other shoe to drop.
Yeah, but a couple of other situations, like you said. If Mike Tomlin has to go now, obviously you owe Ben a lot of money, and I think they drafted Mason Rudolph to be the heir apparent. We don't know. There's nothing really coming out as far as his development, and unless you're like super into Steelers, super insider Steeler guys, which again I don't think any of the three of us are, but nothing coming out of the camp as far as Mason Rudolph's developing enough that they could see getting rid of Ben Roethlisberger over Antonio Brown. So, and again, Antonio Brown's not the guy who's won you 2 Super Bowl rings. That's Ben Roethlisberger. So, I think we're sitting here looking at a situation where he's the odd man out. So, let's look at some spots that he could potentially go to. He being Antonio Brown. Again, if the Steelers decide to trade him, they're stuck for the $21 million. So, in that situation, I think he's more so going to go for draft picks than necessarily a Patrick Peterson, because the ability to pay Patrick Peterson and Antonio Brown just seems ludicrous at this point. So, a couple of things that people have been throwing out there, which the first one, I'm not a fan of the team, but it really sounds juicy and it sounds like prime time, and that's the Dallas Cowboys. Could you imagine Dak, Zeke, Amari Cooper, and Antonio Brown all on one team?
God almighty.
Offensively, we're looking at Chiefs 2.0 in that spot. And with what I believe is still a high-level offensive line as well. Good God, could you imagine? They have $50 million in cap space, which is 10th in the league next year. They obviously, Antonio Brown would improve on an offense that is 21st overall and 26th in passing. They don't have a first-round pick this year, but I could see a situation where they packaged 2 or 3 second and third-round picks and maybe pick up a guy like Antonio Brown. After Amari Cooper, Cole Beasley's contract has expired. Allen Hurns, well, we all saw what happened to him. And Michael Gallup has not developed quite into a number 2 receiver just yet, but he's on the way up. But obviously, Michael Gallup, Antonio Brown. Michael Gallup, Antonio Brown.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that.
So what do you guys think about that one?
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah.
I left you speechless.
Yeah, no, it's just, I don't know what to make of it. But again, the question is going to become, what is needed to be given up in order to get Antonio Brown? And
well, let's just bring it into a consensus. I'm going to say 2 seconds. I'm going to say 2 seconds or a second and a third is probably going to get you Antonio Brown.
2 seconds. Huh.
Or maybe even a first. But again, Dallas doesn't have a first. And, you know how NFL franchises are with their first-round picks. Even though some of them don't pan out. And I would trade Antonio Brown for a first-round pick. I'm not a front office GM. Maybe for good reason.
Yeah. Well, you're right. Whatever it ends up being. Yeah, I think Antonio Brown, even with the cost, shows that he's still productive. Now, theoretically, this should make Dak that much better to have that extra weapon, because that offense, there would just no defense in the league would be able to cover all those weapons.
And let me tell you this, Antonio Brown's remaining contract is 3 years at an average annual value of $13 million a year.
$13 million, okay.
That's his average annual. I don't know what the exact, because they don't do it like hockey does it.
Right. Yeah, so it's a little weird.
Some years you make more, some years you make less, some years you're on bonuses and stuff like that. So,
right.
I mean, a lot of times NFL players are signing bonuses, pretty much most of their guaranteed money. So,
well, we just had a commercial come on with Dak on the TV, so
there you go.
Now I think that's an omen. I think we can break it right here. Antonio Brown is definitely going to Cleveland.
Yeah, you heard it here first.
To Dallas.
Hashtag breaking news. Yeah,
I don't know.
You love the Browns today.
Apparently.
All right, another team which we've already seen some, I guess, I don't know if tampering or some recruiting has already gone on, and that's the San Francisco 49ers. George Kittle, after the whole thing, said, "What's up, Antonio Brown?" And Antonio Brown tweeted back the emoji of the smiley face with the stars in his eyes, like he would be happy to go to San Francisco. They also have about $48 million in cap space, and they have 2 high-profile offensive weapons coming back in Jimmy Garoppolo and Jerick McKinnon. You also have Marquise Goodwin, who is a burner who could play the juju role. And you have Dante Pettis, who's an up-and-coming receiver who stepped in for when Marquise Goodwin was hurt. And, like I didn't even mention yet, George Kittle, who was 88 receptions and a tight end record. I believe he had 1,300 yards receiving. So you add Antonio Brown into a mix like this, I think you start looking at some actual logical claims that the 49ers may be back. Again, they need some help on defense. So spending a big chunk of their $48 million in cap room on Antonio Brown, positive or negative?
Well, the other thing to note here is that they've already paid their quarterback as well.
Correct.
I think a lot of Dallas's money there, well, not a lot, I mean, a good portion of it is going to go to have to pay Prescott, who's going to be on the final year of his very small rookie deal this next season upcoming. So I think that makes it a lot more sense there, in the sense that that's a lot of open cap space, because they haven't really spent very much on defense, and that's been clearly evident with watching this team the last couple of years.
And fair, but with no state income tax, that also helps the Cowboys' negotiations. They may be able to get Dak for a cheaper rate than a lot of these other franchises.
Possible. Yep. No, that definitely comes into play. There's no question there. So, yeah, I don't know anything besides that, but I think the contract situation with the quarterback especially is pretty important.
That is key. That's something good to bring up. Yeah, absolutely.
But, yeah, why it would make more sense to me that San Francisco would fit better than Dallas. But, again, I don't know much more than that. But certainly I think there will be a lot of potential suitors for him for sure. These are 2 teams out of, I'm sure, at least 7, 8, or 9 that would be clearly would want to add Antonio Brown. Navy, personal type of stuff or not, I don't think that is going to play a really large portion into being able to add a really great receiver, one of the best receivers of our generation, to your team. I think there's no doubt.
Yeah, most definitely. And all right, so the third team that's listed on this article, I'm reading it from CBS Sports, and I'll let you try to guess the team. But next year, they are a playoff team currently. They made the playoffs this year, and they have $122 million in open cap.
Holy fuck!
Yes.
Seattle.
No.
I'm thinking it's the Chargers, but I don't.
No.
I have no idea then.
I'll give you another hint. They are still in the playoffs, but not the Chargers.
That's my best chance.
It can't be New England.
It is not.
I mean, Indy hasn't paid a lot of people on defense either, but that would be my other guess. But I have no idea. I don't know.
I think you might be onto something.
Oh,
it's the Indianapolis Colts.
Wow.
Could you imagine T.Y. Hilton and Antonio Brown paired with Andrew Luck?
Ooh.
For the next 3 years.
For those 4 games per year that Luck's actually healthy enough for. Yeah, that would be...
he played 16 this year.
Yeah, this year, finally.
I don't know. I mean, that combined with Marlon Mack, or there's even been talks that Le'Veon Bell is a candidate to sign with them as well. I mean, if anybody's got the cap space to do it, $122 million is definitely it. They could bring in Bell and Antonio Brown. A lot of people have forgotten about that too. He's going to be the topic of the offseason, Le'Veon Bell, because I I still have that. Well, I guess the poll ended now, but I still have. I had that poll out where how much they believed he would get on an average annual value. Many people said under $17 million. So if you can get Antonio Brown for what we say it was an average annual for $13 million, and then Le'Veon Bell combined with Marlon Mack and T.Y. Hilton and Andrew Luck and Eric Ebron, don't forget about him.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, that could be a dangerous team going forward. So I mean, ultimately, I gotta imagine he stays in Pittsburgh though. After all we just did to hype that all up, I gotta imagine he stays in Pittsburgh.
I don't know. I think there are going to be enough teams interested that one team will end up overpaying for it, and it'll be some kind of deal that Pittsburgh can't refuse.
That's what it has to be, I mean, because the thing is, like I said, they're $21 million on their cap, one way or the other, whether he plays for the Pittsburgh Steelers or plays for anybody else.
Right.
So if they're going to trade him, I think it's going to be picks. And if they're going to trade him, I think it's going to be, like you said, I mean, if Amari Cooper is fetching a first-round pick, the Pittsburgh Steelers have the right to ask for maybe even 2. And who has that? The Raiders have that.
That's true.
Could you imagine sending him to the Raiders? He could be here in Vegas.
That poor bastard.
He may be in Vegas this year. I don't know. I still don't know what the updated status is on on that. I mean, there have been talks they play in Tottenham next year. I mean, who knows where the fuck they're going to play? But yeah, it's going to be interesting in the offseason. 2 of the biggest names in offseason movement both came from the Pittsburgh Steelers. And, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, that is not a good look for the Pittsburgh Steelers organization.
None of this has been good for the Pittsburgh Steelers organization.
Well, I understand that, but I'm saying, I mean, you had the trifecta of what may go down in history as the best trifecta in history to never win a Super Bowl. I mean, the best trifecta in history, you could make that argument, and also this best trifecta never won a Super Bowl. I mean, who else do you have? I mean, Irvin, Smith, and Aikman. I mean, many people believe it. Roethlisberger would probably be over Aikman, and Antonio Brown would probably be over Michael Irvin.
Definitely.
But I mean, there's not a lot of other trifectas out there. I mean, who else you got?
Yeah.
I mean, Montana Rice and Craig? No.
Christ.
No, I said Rice, not Christ.
Oh yeah, sorry. No, I was gonna say Warner Falk and what was the Isaac Bruce.
Okay.
For St. Louis, but they won one, so
they did win one. No, I'm saying greatest trifecta of all time, even including the winners.
Oh, even including
statistical purposes, if Le'Veon Bell pans out, Antonio Brown's already there as one of the greatest of all time, and Big Ben is up there as far as he's not a top 10 quarterback in my mind, but neither is Kurt Warner.
No, but he's Hall of Fame worthy for sure.
I agree. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So that's what I mean. 1, greatest trifecta of all time. 2, greatest trifecta of all time to never win a Super Bowl.
Right.
It's got to feel like if these 2 guys are both out of here in the next year or 2, it's got to feel like a colossal failure.
Yeah, and again, this goes back to my point of this falls on Tomlin's shoulders, and that Pittsburgh needs to pull the plug on this experiment.
I feel like Belichick's sitting there like a Sith Lord, like eggs. Because they should have beaten Belichick many occasions.
Oh, for sure.
So, I don't know. So, all right, well, let's get into the games. And we have 2 big ones on the slate today. That sounds weird when I say it like that, but whatever.
The 2 biggins.
The 2 biggins.
The 2 biggins.
So we got the early game, the 10:05 Pacific time start. I'm going to get my time zones right today.
You got it. Yeah.
10:05 Pacific time start. We have the LA, affectionately mentioned LA.
The Clippers.
There you go. The Clippers are traveling all the way to Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots. The line is New England -4. The total is 47.5. You have the 13-4, or the 12-4 in the regular season against 11-5. We gotta have something that's got to give. 8-0 on the 8-0 or 7-1 on the road, 8-0 at home for New England. 7-0. Excuse me, I fucked that up. 7-0 on the road for the Chargers. 8-0 at home for the Patriots. So 2 very, very strong records in favor of both the away team and the home team in this spot. So that being said, Since yesterday we went honors to the leader of last week, we're gonna go start with the loser.
We still have to go honors to the winner because this
Why?
is how we did it during the regular season. Was that
Did
whoever?
we? I don't think we had a spot there.
We absolutely did.
All right, fine. We'll go back to the proxy token who is making the picks for Token Tony. So since Spike needs all of the handicaps he can get,
Clearly.
We'll lead off here with again just staying with the hot hand and one of the better teams in the AFC. And despite these absolutely beyond god awful playoff rules with how seedings and everything happens, the Chargers have to travel yet again and play early yet again on the East Coast against New England, and we have them getting 4 here. I think a decent chance they can actually come up with a win. Although even if they don't, I expect it to be a very, very close game, and getting any kind of points in a game like this where it should be pretty hard fought, we'll take the 4.
all right, fair enough. I could go with what Spike likes to call a happiness edge, and if the Chargers cover the 4 or win outright, I'd be happy either way because I win the pick, although the Patriots do lose. But I see this game a touchdown game, which is obviously better than the 4. So I'm going to take New England. I think Tom Brady and Belichick get it done, and we pencil them into an 8th straight AFC title game against who? Be fun.
Nice way of trying to be vague there. So as a born and bred Bostonian, and as I've been watching New England for so many years, and this is a playoff matchup that scares the hell out of me for a number of reasons. Obviously, LA being really good on the road. Phillip Rivers has looked fantastic this season. There are too many factors for me, and especially if LA's run defense lives up to the task of stopping Sony Michel. But there were 2 stats that I found out that actually made me very happy and made me very confident in this pick. The first is that the Chargers' offensive line gave up more pressures against the quarterback, not necessarily sacks, but more pressures against the quarterback than all other teams except one. I forget who that one is. And New England, even though they don't necessarily get sacks on defense, pressure the quarterback more than just about any other team. So I think that getting in Phillip Rivers' face all the time is going to be able to disrupt him. And the other statistic is that the Chargers' defense has given up more passing yards to running backs this year than any other team. And James White for New England just set the franchise record for passing yards to running backs this year. Give me New England minus the 4. I think they actually win this one walking away.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of factors. Obviously, it's been well publicized that the remaining quarterbacks in the playoffs are a combined 0 and I think 9 against Tom Brady, with the exception being that obviously Pat Mahomes has not faced Tom Brady in the playoffs, but he is 0 and 1 all time.
Yep.
And that was this year. So, I mean, dropping a big 0 burger on the Patriots as far as them losing games to these opponents, it's got to make you feel good as well. Like you said, Patriots are coming in relatively healthy. Last year they didn't have Hightower. Last year Rob Gronkowski was hurt. This year, Rob Gronkowski's meaning to the offense may have been able to be fixed, I guess, with the help of Josh McDaniels, Spike's favorite offensive coordinator.
Yes.
But it is going to be tough. I really hope, but I hope that Josh Gordon's absence doesn't become a bigger problem with the Patriots' inability to go down the field. And by that, I mean I'm hoping that Philip Dorsett maybe has an impact in this game.
And that could be possible, but I think Belichick always finds a way to mix in an offensive weapon that you wouldn't expect. So whether it's a Dorsett, I would have said Hollister, but he just got put on the IR.
Or even Chris Hogan, maybe.
Or, what's his name? Allen, the, 3rd or 4th string tight end.
Allen.
Yeah. Belichick finds a way to find somebody that the defense didn't prepare for and gives that guy a huge game.
I wish he would have done that in the Super Bowl. He was my worst prop bet of last year.
And then when the other team adjusts, then they hit Edelman and Gronkowski and they go back to their weapons and they can blow a team out of the stadium. And the other thing is, too, remember, the Chargers, I believe, finished the season as the number 1 scoring defense in the league. Tom Brady's all-time record against scoring defenses. Anybody want to hazard a guess? He has 22 games against number one ranked scoring defenses.
19-3.
Broken Tony?
How many games? 21?
22.
22. 20-2.
16-6. So not quite as good as you guys were expecting, but he still dominates the motherfuck out of number one defenses.
Fair enough.
So
All right.
I think this is the kind of thing where Brady can shine.
Little side prop bet here. Leading rusher for New England, Burkhead, White, or Michelle?
Ooh. I say Burkhead's out of it. It's between White and Michelle. Give me Michelle.
I'll take Michelle as well. But I'm just utilizing that based on their player prop numbers. That's the only reason.
I'll take Rex Burkhead.
Okay.
Burkhead, okay.
And I feel like you talked about, a guy who you wouldn't expect, and like everybody's going to be game planning for Michelle. I'm not saying that he won't get carries, but I think Burkhead might get 10 carries in this game.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
Well, that's important because then that would have to signify much less carries, I would assume, for... I mean, how many do you think Michelle would then receive?
15, 16.
Wow, that much running of the ball. Wow.
I don't think White's going to get virtually any carries.
Okay, got it. Wow.
I think they're going to try to run the ball 25 times,
Really?
unless they get behind really early.
Fair enough.
But
Gotcha.
yeah. So, all right, total time, proxy.
We are at under 47.5 in this one. This is, in my opinion, of the 8 things you can choose. This is probably the hardest total and or side that you could probably be on. I think this game could go really a lot of different ways. I could see it at 30 points total between these two teams. I could also see 60. So it's just one of those. Totally could go either way, just to get Token back in the podcast. And so I mean, you could go either way. We're going to go with, again, an ode to Token here, a missed field goal at the end to keep this game the under just barely. We have a 24-23 final, New England, with a missed field goal by L.A. at the end of the game.
All right. Wow.
I like it.
Token was oddly specific. I actually, before even seeing the total, I felt like it was 28-20 New England, and now that I see the total is 47.5, I'll take the over. I'll take the over, but just barely.
If we were doing bold predictions for bonus points, I would say New England gets 40-plus in this game. Wow. So I think this game goes over. It goes over easy. I could see them going over by third quarter.
Wow, that is bold.
Wow.
Yeah. Two solid defenses.
Yeah. And me calling it the toughest pick of the week, and Spike's just blowing right through it.
Like it's enough on your couch.
I don't think New England's defense is good enough to stop Rivers
really?
most of the time. I think they get him enough that New England wins, but I think that they let Rivers go down the field enough that
I'd be curious at what the Chargers team total is and what you would go with that. Do we have that out yet?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm sure it's out. I don't have any money in my William Hill account. I should go reload that.
Yeah, you
I
should.
just chopped a tournament today because my boss decided to go to CES.
Oh, nice.
So on my lunch break, I decided to play the poker tournament at Santa Fe. Got a 3-way chop for like $400.
So the question would be is, when you deposit in your William Hill account,
yes,
does it say you're all set, or does it say thanks for your donation?
Recently, thanks for the donation, but I've been doing the lottery tickets like you on hockey games.
Yeah, so. The reverse parlay, or the reverse puck lines.
Reverse puck lines, or I do like 6 favorites plus 1 dog on a parlay, and just let it ride, and that's no good.
26 and 22 are the two team totals.
Mm-hmm. So 22 for the Chargers.
Yes.
22 for the 22
you already
for the
said
Chargers.
The Patriots scoring 40+.
Yeah,
we know that one, but 22.
I go over.
Wow, you think this game's going to be in the 80s, 70s or 80s then?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'll say it's 42 to 27.
Yowzers. Well, that is a big score. That's a lot of offense. And I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, because both teams can definitely do it. That's been given. They've both done it against the Chiefs, which we're looking at here too. So, all right, let's move on to the next game, and it's the last game of the divisional playoffs. It is the 1:40 p.m. Pacific time start.
Hey, got it right. Hey,
Nailed it.
It is St. Nick and the Philadelphia Eagles, since you guys don't like it when I call him Big Dick Nick, and the Philadelphia Eagles traveling to the Superdome to face Drew Brees and the high-flying Saints. What do you guys think initially about Sean Payton's motivational tactic of bringing in the Lombardi Trophy and the equivalent in cash bricks of the Super Bowl bonus? Did you see that at all?
I heard about it. I think it's strange and weird, but
I
Sean
thought it was a
Payton
strange motivation tactic.
Yeah.
It almost felt like, hey, I've done this before, don't fuck it up.
Yeah,
I want to do it
something,
again. I'm sure that wasn't his motivation or his mindset, but I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, the only two people that have done this are Brees and Peyton on this team, as far as with the Saints. I don't think anybody's there from
Was
Pete Carmichael maybe still was there?
Ben Watson on that team that won it?
No, I can check, but I mean, I don't think Ben Watson. I think Ben Watson was in New England when that happened, wasn't he?
In 2009? I don't think so.
No?
No, because they had Gronkowski and Hernandez by then.
Let's
Not sure what
see.
Ben was.
2009, he
going with
was
Pete Carmichael, though, I think.
with the Patriots. He was.
He was. Oh,
Yeah.
shit.
He actually played with the Patriots. Yeah, he was with the Patriots in 2009. Yep. So, who the hell's Pete Carmichael?
The offensive coordinator.
I'm not worried about the fucking offensive coordinator. Talking about the players on the field.
So that's why he mentioned Sean Payton.
Yeah, I mean, he's a coach, right?
I said Sean Payton, but I mean, okay.
All right, whatever. It doesn't matter.
That does your input doesn't matter.
No,
you're
fair
just
enough.
you're just the proxy.
Just the proxy. Don't worry about what he says, that bastard.
Go back to college.
Let's see. So
We're going to start out with the pick here from Token while you're looking up something.
Chase Daniel was on that roster.
Really?
Do you know who the backup quarterback for Drew Brees was? And it wasn't Chase Daniel.
The actual backup?
Yeah,
Billy
I'll give you
Joe Hobart.
No, I'll give you a hint. He was a left-handed quarterback.
Jared Lorenzen?
No,
The hefty lefty?
the hefty lefty. he had like that stomach surgery just recently too.
Oh, did he?
Mark Brunell?
Mark Brunell.
Oh, wow.
Mark
Snuck
Good
in.
call. I actually follow
Jeremy Shockey was on that team.
Lorenzen on Twitter. He's a pretty good Twitter follow.
Yeah, I don't see anybody that I would recognize still on that team. That was on the 2009 team, but I'll check your coaching staff. Pete Carmichael Jr., yes. Joe Lombardi, yes. So, and is Joe Lombardi still in there?
I think he
Think
still
so.
might be there, yeah.
Yeah, because he's doing those ads where he's talking about being a quarterback's coach in the NFL. So.
Defensive coordinator Greg Williams. That was Bountygate era too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no wonder they won the Super Bowl. They were tearing everybody's heads off. Their pets' heads are falling off. All right, let's get into the game before we waste any more time. Everybody's waiting on bended knee to
New Orleans.
-8, total 51.5.
Yep, Token and I are very much aligned in this game. I have, unfortunately, still only a money line wager on New Orleans here that's paired with LA, with the LA Rams. But I'm very much considering myself personally making a bet on New Orleans laying the points. I don't usually like to lay a whole lot of points, but this one to me is a man against boys type of game where I think this one team is significantly better than the other, and I don't think New Orleans will have any issue. They may not win by 30 plus or whatever they did in their first meeting, but I like what's going on here with New Orleans, and I think Philly is very, very fortunate to be in this spot. Number one. And two, they're just behind the 8 ball on both sides of the field here. I actually think New Orleans' defense is actually even better than Philly's. So, like New Orleans here going away in this one.
Fair enough. This was probably the toughest one for me. You talked about the Pats Chargers proxy, and this one for me, and it's really kind of a funny way. It's not anything on the field. It's just the magic of Nick Foles.
BDN at his best.
Yeah. How do you go against this guy at any point? And everybody can say, "Oh, this is the week the magic ends," but I don't know. That being said, we talked about we previewed this game a little bit on Thursday, and I talked about even Philadelphia playing with one thing that keeps them in this game, which is bigger almost sometimes than the talent gap that I believe that New Orleans has, and that's momentum and belief. And I believe that for whatever reason, Philadelphia just believes they're a better team or a more competitive team when number 9 suits up versus number 11, and that's Carson Wentz. I think he wears 11, right? Mm-hmm. And for just some reason, the team just overall just feels like a different concept. And I'm not calling for the win because I'll let the magic just kind of happen if that happens, but I think they're going to cover the 8 in this spot. Give me Philadelphia plus the 8 points.
Oof.
I think there's a lot of people, despite what I see here on cover, 60% going on the 8. I actually think there's a lot of money going in on what you're talking about, the New Orleans Saints, but the 8 points. So I like to be where Vegas wants to be, and I think Vegas wants the Eagles in this spot.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think my motivation for this game is not necessarily about what the Saints are doing offensively or defensively. It's not necessarily about what Philadelphia is doing offensively or defensively. I'm not going to talk about punters because that's a special, different kind of podcast.
We actually do the whole podcast for you, just
so I can talk about punters.
So you can talk punters.
I appreciate that, but that's not happening this time. My pick this week is out of hopes and prayers that people from Philadelphia will finally shut the fuck up. Give me New Orleans minus the 8. I think they win this one in a rout.
I can tell you no matter what the score is, they will never shut the fuck up.
Oh, God. They are the worst, most insufferable people on the planet.
And the thing is, right now, even though the Pats beat the Eagles in 2005, I would feel like the Eagles still have the trump card. You know, when you're talking shit as fans of an opponent, all they got to say is 41-33, and it's almost like as a Pats fan, it's like when you try to argue with a Giants fan, they're like, "Dude, we got you twice," and you're like, "Fuck, I got nothing."
Yeah, 18-1, 18-1,
and you got nothing.
And then you just have to hope they're a Yankees fan, so you can say 2004.
Yeah, exactly. So it's one of those things. So right now they do have the trump card, so to speak. All right, well, those are our picks for the divisional round of the playoffs for
Total.
And then
Total.
Let's do totals, guys. All right, Proxy, your totals are first.
Leading off with the under here, 51. Again, this is another
51 and a half.
51 and a half. Okay.
So he gets it better.
Oh, that's good. This is another one that I really had no opinion or no idea on, but Token will be on the 51 here. I think his hope is certainly for a rout as well, but one where we see Philly finally sort of blow up on offense. They have absolutely no running game to speak of whatsoever.
We have any status on Josh Adams at any point?
I have heard nothing from him. He didn't practice through Wednesday, but I don't know what happened on Thursday, so I have no idea there. I mean, even if Adams plays, it's just a porous running attack. It's very rough. We're going to see old ass and small little Darren Sproles get probably 10 carries again. I mean, it's just that's just not that's not going to work. So I think that's the cause here. I think Token's on the 31-10 type of train in this game, and just New Orleans just dumping out the clock late in the fourth quarter with the two good backs, and that's where we'll end up.
All right, fair enough. I'm actually on the under as well, but I think for a different reason. I don't think there's a rout in this game. I believe this game, the defenses play well, both defenses, and I actually think the offense for the Saints is going to sputter a little bit, and they're still going to win. Like I said, I still think New Orleans is going to win this game, but I'm seeing it in a situation probably in like the 26-19 kind of variety.
Wow. Well, I'm fading both of you. I'm going over. I think this is kind of a spot where New Orleans gets out big early, takes their foot off the gas, and then Philadelphia backdoors their way in, not necessarily for a cover, but I think it goes over. I think, give me like...
You just wanted to say backdoor.
Yeah, something like that. Give me 35-21. How about that?
I'll give it to you. All right, that is our picks for the divisional round of the playoffs for the Sunday games. The LA Chargers at New England and Philadelphia at New Orleans. I'd imagine we're going to have two good games here. I don't like routes in the playoffs. I understand that they happen, and some teams are just better than others, but obviously you root for, I guess, classic NFL films type matchups, really, in my opinion, is really, you just want to see something great, I think is what it is, and that's what I'm hoping to see here in the divisional playoffs. Let's update the listeners on our exactas and what we still haven't played. Do you still have those on your spreadsheet there?
I do, but unfortunately, Windows just decided to do a shutdown on me. Fortunately, I had just saved when we were talking about, to wrapping up. We got all the picks in. I have it saved. That's all set. It just decided to do a restart on me. So.
I think I have them here. I might have to pull them up.
I got Token and ours right here.
I know that Token has all three of his still alive. Really? 2 of mine are dead. 1 of Aaron's is dead.
Let me see if I can pull them up. When did we do those? Oh, here we go. So Seattle over Kansas City is gone. Was that yours?
Probably.
Dallas over the Chargers is still in play at 225-1. That's you guys. Dallas over Baltimore is gone.
That's also mine.
New Orleans over the Clippers at 18-1, I believe, is also yours.
That's mine. I have New Orleans. I'm the only one that has New Orleans on any of them.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Clippers over Rams. I thought that was you, too.
No, that's Token.
That's
the all-LA battle.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then New England over Chicago is gone. I think that was yours.
No.
No?
No.
No,
We have
that's
Kansas
yours.
City
That's yours.
I never picked the Bears to go to the Super Bowl, so that can't be mine.
Well, then one of the ones that I claimed that was mine that's out is not mine. Probably Seattle.
I think I picked Dallas over Chargers. No, maybe not.
You might have had Seattle. You have the
I might
Russell
have had
Wilson hard on. That's probably you.
Russell Wilson hard on.
That's true.
I have a Russell Wilson hard on with that. Never mind. That was going to be a bad joke in there.
By the way, the more I think about it, the more I think you're 1,000% wrong on Pete Carroll coming in second in the Coach of the Year race.
I'll admit that to you. I think it's not going to happen, but I still think if they had to put, I still think he'd finish. I don't know how many down they go, but I think he finishes higher than Andy Reid.
Maybe, but I mean, if it's,
I think you chickened out on your bet.
It's the guy from the Bears, if it's not him, it's the guy from the Chargers. If it's not him, it's Indy.
Niggy.
Yes, Niggy.
Oh, what a name! It's got to be. It has to be.
Let's see. So what else is still in play? Indianapolis over Seattle's gone. Indianapolis over Philly, the 375-1 is still intact.
Oh, I like that one.
So I'm definitely rooting for those two teams to keep that intact. Holy crap, that would be great.
That would be pretty.
I would have hedging opportunities. What is $2? $3.75? What is that? $7.50? $750. So there's a hedging op there, especially with
where you got to have two teams get there. There's. Yeah.
Indianapolis and Philly, they may be pretty big dogs in their respective championship games, but that'll be fun. And then we still have New England over the Rams. Is that tokens?
No, we don't have anything with the Pats over here.
Then maybe that was me. I can't remember what I picked.
Windows is trying to start up here.
We have Kansas City over the Rams. That's the last one that we haven't mentioned.
Kansas City over the Rams. Do I even have that?
No, 20-1. Yeah.
Where do I have that? Kansas City over LA, 20-1. There it is. And then I made another one somewhere. I thought I made another one somewhere. Oh, maybe it was the same day. Oh, that was the Indianapolis and then Philadelphia. So we have a few in play. So it'll be an interesting. Because obviously we're not rooting only for the exactas because some of us have bets that kind of go against the exactas.
It is kind of difficult to do this, but I think if the Chargers somehow beat New England, that will leave the most alive. I would think for those bets specifically.
I hope we get one of these because then we can put it in the food fund that we haven't put any money in just yet.
I know.
We have to put a jar right here that has all the money. You still have all the tallies of all the money that we owe.
I do, yeah, for all the times that we've changed our Super Bowl picks and for our AFC 10-6 bet and for our playoff seedings that we all got horrendously wrong.
Yeah, I think Token won 3 out of 12. Or you won 3 out of 12?
I got 3 out of 12.
We
You and
both got
Token got 2, yeah.
Yeah, that's hard to do, though. I mean,
oh, shit. And we did it
and we did it in week 12.
Yeah.
We did it 4 weeks away from the playoffs, and it was hard to do. And picking Denver was probably the wrong move.
I had Washington winning the NFC East too. That was the week before Alex Smith went down with an injury.
Yeah, that looked good for a while.
Did Washington win a game after Alex Smith went down?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I think they squeaked one out.
Oh yeah,
Dallas.
they didn't beat
Yeah,
Dallas.
at home.
No. I think they beat Jacksonville.
It was a home game, a division home game. Maybe it could have been the Giants. I think it was Dallas though.
Anyways, so all right, that's going to wrap it up for us. We appreciate you listening. Good luck with your bets, whether you tail us, fade us, or just go in a completely different direction, maybe with prop bets, which I know on our NFL recap, Proxy over here is going to have some player props.
Absolutely. Yeah,
so we'll recap your player props. Actually, before we recap them, let's preview them. You got anything in the works for Sunday's matchups?
I do. Dallas, by the way, beat the Redskins 31-23 on November 22nd. We're talking about Saturday or Sunday?
Talking about, both. Well, no, Sunday, because this is Sunday's podcast.
Yeah.
So we're recording on Sunday.
Fair enough.
No, we record on Fridays. Fuck it. We don't need to fake. We don't need to fake them out.
So this one, I got a lot focused on this New England Indy game, and we'll start quickly here with Andrew Luck. We have the under yards, passing yards. I got it at 310. It's down a little bit on Will Hill, down to 307. But this one, I think, just goes along with how I believe this game is going to go, which is very much anti the majority of other people. I think this is going to be a little bit more of a slow slugfest type of game, especially when you add into the fact that I think there's going to be some very poor weather. Both there already is now, and there will be up all the way through the game. I think you're just going to see a lot more just pace issues with both teams, and especially with Indy running the ball much more so than they usually do, or at least they have, in the earlier part of the season with Marlon Mack on the shelf. I think we'll see a different Indy team looking, and I would guess that he'll be around 250 yards would be my guess for Luck. So I like that side there. And then going to the other side here, the other one we like is Gronk. His number for receiving yards is 53.5, which is still exactly that on Will Hill as well. I like the under as well a lot there. Gronk is certainly not the same player he's been in years past, and this season it's been quite a disaster in that sense. He just can't really get off the line. He's not moving in the same way, and I think without having the potential of a very long reception, I think very unlikely. That means it's going to have to be 5 or 6 receptions to get to that number, and that seems pretty unlikely in my book. So the last guy that we had there was Melvin Gordon to score a touchdown -120. This is, those touchdown bets are a lot of variance, a lot of weirdness that goes along with that. But I just think a lot of scoring opportunities here with both teams. And Melvin is the guy. Anything in the red zone, Melvin will be the only back on the field. They gave him the ball 2 or 3 straight times last week in a goal line situation against a much better run-stopping defense. So I like Melvin to have 1 or 2 touchdowns there. And then lastly, going into the final game with Philly, we have Alshon Jeffrey under, another under, I guess, here, 69.5 yards. I think Alshon will take a back seat to a couple other receivers on this team, and hopefully he doesn't end up with a lot on the comeback train when they have to throw the ball pretty much every down in the fourth quarter. But I think Alshon had his large game in front of his former team last week, and I think we'll see a definite regression both in targets and in yards from Alshon in this game.
All right, fair enough. So it's another couple of things to look out for when you're betting. I guess you call them the exotics.
Yeah, we'll have something up, I think, on the website, on VegasSquares.com. I'll preview a few of these and add a few more details to some of the others.
All right, so definitely this weekend, check out VegasSquares.com for Tony Johnson's first article since the end of the college football regular season. It's
been a while, yeah, and we're going to have a recap, I think, at some point there, but while we're still got bets going on, might as well get more action.
Right on, yeah, we definitely do have to recap how you did in Finding the Edge in the Power 5.
We will do so.
I believe it was profitable.
It was good. We picked, I think, over 55%, which is pretty strong.
It's good, especially in Power 5 football. So.
Exactly.
All right, that's it for us. Spike, any final words going into what we believe may be your last day on Earth Sunday if the Patriots lose the game?
Yeah, so for anybody listening, anybody that gives a shit, which I'm sure is about 0%, I am going in for surgery on Thursday, which is after the Patriots game. And if they lose, I'm just going to tell the doctor, just crank up the anesthesia and just leave me out for the next couple of years because I'm done.
Fair enough. All right, that's it from us. We appreciate you listening. We want to thank our sponsors, 12 Ounce Sports Radio, for putting us on every Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Thursday. Also want to thank VGK Pop Sockets, ChaiPoker.com, Eric on the Web Productions, and our newest sponsor, partner, Vegas Puckline Apparel. Just kind of want to say thank you to all the sponsors for putting up with us, putting up with our dribble, and we apologize. Spike is, he is what he is. So, so we're just glad you're all still a part.
Wow.
We're just glad you're all still a part of it, despite the
direct shot. Unbelievable.
Happy New Year, New Year. All right. With that being said, we will catch you on the recap show, and we recap all 4 games and see how we did in our playoff prop bet. So, for Spike, for Proxy Tony, for Token Tony, I am Aaron. We appreciate it. We'll catch you on the next one.